Hey everyone, it's FLAK. Battlefield 2042 was supposed to be a return to form for the franchise. Not only that, it promised new experiences in an effort to expand the player base. One of these was Hazard Zone, a game mode that drew comparisons to survival games like Escape from Tarkov and ever-popular battle royales. Fast forward 6 months, and developers have now announced they won't be adding new content to the mode moving forward, effectively killing it. In the beginning, the mode was given a lot of press time by devs, and even occupies a third of the main screen in Battlefield 2042. It was clearly elevated as a major reason to buy the game, and the concept behind the game mode was interesting. Players look for downed satellites to retrieve data drives, and more fall from the sky during the round. You'll fight opposing squads and AI players while waiting for the opportunity to extract with your spoils. There are 2 opportunities over the course of each round, and if you don't make it out on the last transport, you're basically lost to the fog of war, and it's game over. DICE actually admitted the failure of Hazard Zone in a recent briefing regarding the first season of Battlefield 2042 content. Creative director Lars Gustafsson says the team had high hopes about the mode, but it didn't garner much traction. In retrospect, I don't really find this surprising. We'll talk about those reasons here in a minute, but I don't think fans understand exactly how poorly Hazard Zone fared. DICE hasn't revealed any data regarding how popular the game mode is, but there are quite a few hints if you know where to look. Much of this data surfaces when you look at achievements, and a quick check of the rarest achievements in Battlefield 2042 reveals not a lot of people are unlocking those associated with Hazard Zone. Specifically, there's an achievement called Escape Artist, which unlocks after successfully extracting 25 times in Hazard Zone. Now, Xbox publicly shares achievement completion data, and the numbers reveal 0.15% of Battlefield 2042 players have unlocked this achievement. That number is pretty abysmal. Similarly, there are other Hazard Zone achievements like Pack Rat, which is unlocked after successfully extracting 50 data drives from Hazard Zone, and its completion rate is a mere 0.54%. While that data doesn't provide the raw numbers as to how many people have tried Hazard Zone, it does indicate it likely isn't a lot. The closest we get to figuring this out is the Clean Exit achievement, which shows 2.49% of players were able to extract without losing a squad member at least one time. Still, the general trend is undeniable. Few people have played Hazard Zone, and even fewer have played the game mode for any meaningful amount of time. I will say I was recently able to find matches, though wait times ran into several minutes in the US, indicating the health of the Hazard Zone player base isn't exactly great. So let's answer the question of why Hazard Zone failed. Battlefield has a bit of a history with these kinds of game modes. You probably recall Battlefield 5 was the series' first foray into the battle royale genre with that game mode Firestorm, and you probably also recall how that one turned out. Certainly a step outside the box for Battlefield. In all honesty, Firestorm wasn't a bad effort. The game mode had everything you wanted in a traditional BR, but suffered from a mediocre inventory system and the misfortune of being associated with Battlefield 5's launch controversies. In the hyper-competitive Battle Royale market, that's enough to doom a game. EA and Ripple Effect did put in some serious work up front, but ultimately failed to support it properly down the road. Developers were slow on updates and content, and that, combined with other issues, sealed its fate. Still, Firestorm had some interesting concepts like vehicle bunkers, calling in vehicles with flares, towing vehicles, safes, and an actually terrifying circle. Halvoy was a huge map, and it was unique to the game mode, so you could argue Firestorm actually added to the Battle Royale genre. Hazard Zone has none of that. Although it features Battle Royale-style gameplay, it omits some of the best aspects of a Battle Royale, like the drop in the circle. You have no say on where you're inserted for the battle, and you can't really strategize ahead of time aside from equipment selection, and this is very important to players and can have a huge impact on the direction of the match. Meanwhile, without a circle, you can simply wait to ambush players at the extraction point once it's revealed. That can promote stagnant gameplay that really feels kind of cheap. There's also the fact that Hazard Zone lacks unique maps. Every match takes place on a vanilla Battlefield 2042 map, which is a bit of a double-edged sword. It does make the game mode easier to play if you're familiar with the game's maps, but it also cheapens the experience. It makes it seem like a tacked-on throwaway game mode, whether it is or isn't. As I mentioned earlier, Hazard Zone also draws significant inspiration from Return to Tarkov, yet it does nothing better. Looting is non-existent. You can only pick up weapons, ammo, and the highly prized data drives. If you do manage to extract, you keep absolutely none of this. Instead, you earn dark market credits for playing, which are then used to buy new upgrades every game. I personally find that a bit boring, and I don't think it appeals to players who like to collect and organize. Additionally, because no gear is persistent, there's little actual risk. No real reason to play the game long term. If you look at Tarkov, you loot and accrue things, you grind, you insure them, you, in some cases, develop attachment to them, so it feels like you actually have some skin in the game. When you lose something in Tarkov, you feel it, and in Hazard Zone, the stakes, they're just extremely casual and the rewards are short-term. You can unlock things like player cards, but there isn't much motivation outside of that. However, one of the biggest problems that crippled Hazard Zone at launch was the lack of voice chat. And it's still absolutely mind-blowing that such a mode, and indeed a game like Battlefield 2042, was launched without VoIP support, the ability to speak to your squad mates. I know that DICE have since added voice chat, but it's too little, too late. In the interim, the in-game ping system provided players with some help, but again, asking the question here, why would players tolerate Hazard Zone's mediocrity and faults when better options are readily available? And lastly, any potential improvements or changes to Hazard Zone were undoubtedly shelved when DICE worked to revitalize the core of Battlefield 2042. But I have to say, it didn't need to end that way. Developers could have launched a solos mode for Hazard Zone, which would have made more sense considering the initial lack of comms, and I do think that that would have helped a little bit. It is also surprising to me that Hazard Zone isn't free to play. You might recall there were a ton of rumors when the game mode was first announced, and I do think it would have made a great introduction to Battlefield mechanics for players new to the franchise without costing them a dime. It would also have helped keep the game mode populated. I think another key for many players on the fence with Hazard Zone was that from the get-go, developers never promised to update the mode or continue content for it, giving little impetus for players to invest their time. And as you heard earlier, that fear is proven to be well-founded. In the end, Hazard Zone isn't a battle royale. It isn't Tarkov, and it certainly isn't better than either of them or both of them combined. While it never lived up to the hype, I would say it wasn't bad and it wasn't good. It simply was, and that's enough for it to fade from memory. From the beginning, it seemed like a very safe experiment, but it was too familiar to fans of the genre and somehow too strange for fans of the Battlefield series, raising the question of who exactly Hazard Zone was built for in the first place. On the positive side, DICE is now solely focused on the core of Battlefield 2042 and getting new content out the door. I can only hope they've learned their lesson with such secondary modes and stick to what they ought to be doing from here on out. I am curious if you've given Hazard Zone a try. What did you think? And if you haven't tried it yet, why not? Tell me down below in the comments. Also, let me know if any of this information is surprising to you. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If not, a dislike. Make sure to subscribe, tap the bell to get updated on the latest Battlefield news. If you want to support the channel, keep your money, share this video, or you can also check out some of our channel sponsors with the links down below in the video description. And as always, thanks for watching.